Yeah. Okay.
Ping pong a little bit.
Okay. We're going to start with libraries.
Traduzione si paga. Traduzione si paga. We don't do any, because sometimes we do that consecutive translation. It's impossible to do with English.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Yeah.
So,
because it was the tour, we were just doing everything translated.
Okay, buonasera a tutti, benvenuti. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Gonzaga Florence. My name is Jason Houston. I'm the Dean of the Gonzaga Florence program. I'm very happy to welcome you to this 10th edition. And we've got two authors for our 10th edition of GIF Talks. I just want to give you a very brief background about what we are, why you're here, what this is. Gonzaga Florence is one of the many American programs in Italy of American university with U.S. students, and some of them are in the room today. So this is an academic setting, U.S. higher ed setting, hence English language. Gonzaga Florence has been here over 60 years. So we're one of the biggest and most well-established programs in Florence. GIF Talks is an initiative that our professor Alessandro Raveggi came up and proposed to me in 2016 or 17, and I happily agreed to help put this on. The idea is to bring authors working between somewhere in Italy and something Anglophone, but we're very open to what we're doing, who are coming through Italy to encounter a conversation with Professor Raveggi, guided by Professor Raveggi, with our students and the public. We're very much focused on our students' undergraduate education, but we are also interested in opening up Gonzaga in Florence to the broader communities of Florence. So I'm very happy to see some return visitors who've come to many of these events. I'm also happy to see new faces. And we do these every semester, so keep your eyes open for the announcement of who we'll have next term. I do want to do a little bit of publicity. We do other things as well. For example, and I have a flyer here, so if you're interested in this kind of stuff on your way out, you can have one. We're doing a conference in the end of November about early Jesuit history in Florence. The arrival of, because we're a Jesuit university, Gonzaga University. So we're going to be doing it at Liceo Galileo, which you may know was the original Jesuit college of Florence. And so that's a high school now. They're opening up for our conference during class time. And the Church of San Giovannino, which is right next to it on Via Martelli, right by the Duomo, the original Jesuit church. So we'll be doing a conference on the arrival of the Jesuits under the Medici in the late, in the 1500s. So other kinds of activities, but this is the one that we're most proud of, and we're here tonight. So I welcome our authors. Thank you, Andrew, for coming. Thank you, Pablo, for coming. But I'll leave it to Professor Raveggi to give a more full introduction and host our evening. So thank you for coming to Gonzaga Florence.
In general, we have the microphone, but I think it's good, right? We don't have the microphone. Yes, we're going to speak British English, Argentinian, Italian, American English, and Italian English maybe. So it'll be a multiple language. So we don't need any translation. We translate in our mind every day, every time. So thank you so much for being here. I'm getting older doing this stuff, but I'm happy because we had, in my opinion, one of the best authors that we can have in Florence over the time. I remember we have a collaboration with the Testo Festival. Now we have Maddalena that is here, the curator of the festival, with Carlo Ginzburg. So we start with a master, Italian master of everything. I don't know, all the literature. Then we had Cesar, for example, one of the last events, Alexandra Hammond, Cristina Rivera Garza, and I would love to say that there were pretty good events with different kind of global literature. This event, as you can see, even from this poster that maybe you've seen in the social media, it's a little bit different. It's an attempt to do a conversation, hopefully a pleasant conversation, moderated by me on an idea that starts on one side from the Library in the Woods, that is a new project by the Santa Maddalena Foundation. And we are very proud to announce that this is the first, one of the first, I hope not the last, collaboration with the Santa Maddalena Foundation. I have to maybe remember also that Andrew Miller is a resident till tonight at the Santa Maddalena Foundation. And Pablo Maurette is the curator of this new project, that is a library in the woods. No, that is another brilliant project by Beatrice, that maybe is coming, we don't know.
We think so,
We
yeah.
think so. There will be a special guest for tonight.
Brandon.
Apart from, obviously, you know, maybe the Von Rezzori Prize, the Santa Maddalena Foundation residency, and this new project opened the doors, ideally speaking, to that. When I was thinking about this event with Pablo and with Andrew, I was thinking about making a connection even with our library, the library in the woods and the Gonzaga library. And I was inspired by the events that are coming, that are surrounding us, not like this apparently land of winter that is not anything to connect with the novel, with the marvelous novel by Andrew Miller, but is connected to the times they are living, not times of censorship, times of violence. So I make this title to understand how and to ask our guests what is the value of literature against censorship? What is the value of literature against these dark times that we are living? So because it's winter is an important topic in the novel, but not only in the novel, in the career of Andrew. I will ask him later a little bit of that. So we are connecting to Donini and to the Santa Maddalena residency. We are open the doors to the library, in the library of Gonzaga in Florence. We are looking at ideally speaking, to the Botanical Garden of Florence. If you haven't been there, it's a very beautiful place. And I'm going to start with a brief intro to the two authors, two guests. On my left is Andrew Miller. Andrew Miller is the author of many novels. I will mention Ingenious Pain, like Oxygen or Pure, and the last, the Land of Winter, that is the winner of the Walter Scott Prize and shortlisted for the Booker Prize. In a few days, we're going to know if will be the winner. I don't know how to say that in Italian. We do like that, but how the British people do like. No, they don't have say so. Or like one. Anyway, and he's also a fellow of the Royal Society of Literature. So he's one of the most interesting novelists that we can have here in Italy. And Pablo Maurette, that is, I don't want to say the co-moderator of this event, but I spoke to Pablo to imagine this conversation. Pablo is the author of 3 novels, essay, La Migración, The Forgotten Sense, that is a very beautiful, let's say, theory on the topic of touch, the forgotten sense. That and then you have La Niña de Oro, and I would love to say that yesterday we have this very big news that the El Contrabando Ejemplar, his last novel, won the prestigious Premio Herralde de Novela 2025. Is one of the most important awards for Spanish literature in the Spanish world, but I would say in the world, no? So we are really happy to also have Pablo. The title in English would be maybe The Exemplary Smuggling, maybe? I don't know, I'm not a translator.
I hope not.
I hope not. Thank you so much. Was my translation. And I will ask, what is the first question? You already answered the first question, or you will make the question. So, first of all, I would like to reinforce this connection with the Library in the Woods and ask Pablo briefly to tell us a little bit more about the project. You know, it's not the first time maybe that you speak publicly about that, but maybe not all the audience are aware of this project. And for you, maybe also the significance, no, in your experience with Santa Maddalena, but in general, as someone who is living in Florence as well. What is the meaning of that place?
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Alessandro. Thank you all for coming. Let me say a few words about this library. But first, let me say a few words about the foundation, in case you don't know it. Fondazione Santa Maddalena is a residency for writers, has been hosting writers in the Donini area, which is about 50 minutes away from here in the middle of the country. It's been hosting writers for about 25 years, since the year 2000, I think exactly. And right?
That sounds right. Yes.
And very recently, Beatrice, who's the founder and the heart and soul of this foundation that we're hoping that she arrives at some point. It will be a very grand entrance.
Yes, it will.
The need is a little bit far, so.
It's a little far, yeah, but she's gonna make it.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, she decided that she was going to build a library. And she has a lot of books, obviously, from many books that were given to her by her guests. All these writers over 25 years left their books, but also many books from her own private collection. And she decided she was going to build a library. And she didn't just build a library, she built a gigantic building in the middle of the country that is it's green in color and wood, and it's a sort of continuation of the woods that surrounds it, and a continuation of the books that are also made of paper and wood.
I can show some photos.
It's a beautiful place, and it's a very special place. I met Beatrice right after the pandemic. She invited me as a fellow writer, as a guest, and since I spent a lot of time in Florence, we became friends. And one day she asked me to be the director of this library. And I said, who's going to come to this library? It's really remote library. People don't read books anymore. And she insisted, and
Even remotely.
yes, she's someone who won't take no for an answer. So she won. And I accepted, and I'm very happy that I did. And because I ended up doing something that I have been doing my whole life, which is putting together libraries wherever I live. It's one of my favorite things in the world, put books in shelves and order them. And this time I have been doing it at a massive scale. It's a literary library. We only have literature, and literature understood in the widest of senses. We have no sections. Well, actually, we do have some sections, but they're not. The books are not divided by genre. They're divided. They're ordered alphabetically only, because as a literary library, I think it should be a place of discovery. So I wouldn't want somebody who only reads contemporary literature to just go to the contemporary section and stay there. I like for someone who is looking for Krasna Horkai, who just won the Nobel Prize, to suddenly bump into Kafka that maybe they haven't read or haven't read in a long time, and then pick up that book. And I believe that books, for us who write, I believe that books are made of books. So there's nothing more important to a writer than what we read. And especially those moments of discovery are great. A great engine for creativity. So it's a literary library in that respect, and we have a section dedicated to books written by fellows of Santa Maddalena. We have a section dedicated to literature in general. We have a section dedicated to the Premio Von Rezzori. The foundation has its own literary prize every year, and so all of the winners and the finalists are also ordered in a particular section of the library. Those are the basics. Everybody here is welcome at our library. I can hear our
Beatrice, yeah, arrivata. Yeah.
ciao.
Beatrice.
Ciao.
Was all set up. It was like a special guest coming at the end of
way to do it.
an introduction, you know.
So perfect.
Perfect time.
Perfect timing.
Ciao Maria.
Cool.
Brava.
Beatrice, I was telling everyone about the library, telling them what it is, how it came about, and you came in at right the.
We share the miracle.
We shared the miracle.
Yeah.
Tutto amore, ostinazione, tutto quanto.
Yes. So yeah.
So you talk about miracles, and I think it's a miracle to keep a library open, or to open a library. It has to keep a wood safe, no, and keep in our times. So continue with this idea. Now, today I'm going to talk about, as you understand, not about books, but although we're going to move through different books and to the role of books. But obviously, we have to touch, and I have to touch this book because I use that for the second title of this event, not The Land in Winter, that recently came out also in Italian, if you want. And the thing that I have to say, there are books outside if you want to buy, to have some signature on them. It's I think they have the time, not
For sure.
So, but I was well, the book is not a book presentation, so I mean I have just some words about The Land in Winter. But I was impressed by the role, obviously, of this season, this blizzard that happens in 1962-1963 winter between November and February, if I remember correctly. And the story is based on this huge event, this great, I don't know, say great cold, or something like that.
The big freeze.
The big freeze of England at the time. And you read the story of two couples that, in a sense, interact and they react to some even to some topics. One of them is obviously what you do when you are stuck in your home. What happened to your house? And this is another topic that maybe we're going to touch later, more related to the identity home and what does it mean to have a home today, during this time. But I would love to ask Andrew because I feel that this topic of winter is not the first time that I found in your books, not even in the first one. There's some connection with winter times. I would love to ask you what is the role of this keyword, and if you feel this book, although it's in a sense, it's an historical novel because it's set in a time that is not the present. What is the possible dialogue between the novel that you write, I imagine, years ago, not like a few years ago, and the recent times that we are living? So what is the connection, maybe? And then if you agree that on one side you have the woods and the libraries, on the other side you have the land.
There's a lot of things I have to put together now.
See, but you have 1 hour.
Library in the woods and the
2 hours.
The book,
the
winter.
book. Let's start with the book.
Everything I've ever done. And actually, I was thinking on the train from Donini, is there anything to do with libraries in the book? Because that would be useful. And I thought, no, there's nothing. No. And then I just remembered there's a traveling library. There's which comes to the village, and I'm guessing, I don't know whether you have this in Italy and in somebody from the States and so on, but these were things that brought the library to villages and little out of the way places, a sort of a small lorry or a large van, I guess. And it would trundle down, and in the book, she's one of the characters is a great reader of sort of pulp sci-fi. So she goes everywhere to stay. I have to say, it's a slightly creepy librarian. So they're not all like that. Yeah. They're mostly they're completely fine. But those were actually rather wonderful. And I'm a little worried that I haven't seen one in England for quite a long time. Edging down a country road, because they're and in fact, I have noticed in a local sort of campsite something that looks suspiciously like an ex-library van now used as a Airbnb place to sort of stay the weekend. So, but winter, yeah, I mean, it's. Writing about snow is kind of always attractive. It changes the world overnight. That's what we all love, I think, about snow. You go to bed in one world and you wake up in another, and it's not just visually. It's also everything, all senses. I mean, you were about touch, but the kind of silence that arrives with snow is. Mesmerizing in a way. It's seductive. So, and of course, it just for these people in the midst of this great freeze, it changes the possibilities of what they can do. Getting around becomes an incredibly difficult thing to do, and it became also, I suppose, although it was never a COVID novel, it became. It was pointed out to me at some point. Well, isn't this a little bit like COVID? Suddenly you can't go anywhere. Suddenly the schools are shut. Suddenly the world is different. And to some extent, perhaps it is. But yeah.
So it's a time of regeneration. So winter is even a positive time for your novel, or in general for your other books.
Well, it's in this novel, certainly it's a time where because everything has to become stiller, and these two couples, I guess, were perhaps surviving on the basis that they could keep going away from each other. Now it becomes harder to do that, and they have to sit and look at each other in a way that perhaps they haven't done for a few years.
Yeah.
And so these are marriages that are not completely new. These are young people who are not very, very young, like some of the people here. So it's a kind of one of those moments where everything is being reviewed. Like, is this the marriage I thought I was getting into? Is this the life I thought I was beginning? Yeah.
Yes, when I was reading the book, I was thinking many different kind of authors and inspirations that you can. Do you have any map of possible? If we consider the library, if you go to the library with Pablo, which book and which author you will pick and you put together, because libraries are also dialogue. No?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think what you were saying about books being it's absolutely true, because books come out of other books. They don't come out entirely from other books. Obviously, they come out of the world, but they are always in some kind of conversation with other books. And one of the things, I don't know if you've ever done this, like one of the things I sometimes do is just try to position what I'm doing when I'm working on something by putting literally the manuscript on the floor and then putting around the manuscript, certain books closer or further away. So you have a kind of constellation of books which, and then there are books which clearly are speaking to the way you're writing, which are, and then there are books you just admire because they're just wonderful books. So that's a slightly different thing. There are books that sort of are somehow more implicated in the work, and then there are books you just want to have near you. I mean, you write in the midst of books, don't you? I mean, one literally at your desk, you are as the project continues, the books pile up, until you have a little wall around you, don't you? Is that the same for you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And also before I start a project, I have I use a whole empty shelf for all the books that I think that I will need. What you were saying about the Lorry, the Lorry library,
Yes,
the mobile library.
Yeah.
And you think of the greatest library story I ever heard, which was told to me by our friend Alberto Manguel, a great bibliophile, that in Colombia, they used to have, in certain rural parts of Colombia, they used to have donkey libraries called burrotecas. Books carried on donkeys, and they would go from town to town. And one day, the copy of the Iliad from the burroteca went missing.
Yes.
And the Burroteca librarian
Was accused of
started tracking it down until he found it in some village in the middle of nowhere. That's
sort of Don Quixote and same.
a Don Quixote, all right. And he asked them, why did you take this book? Why did you keep this book? And the person said to him, and this is the Iliad, because this is our story.
Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. It's wonderful.
So, talk about the value of books. Talk about the. I would love to continue with Pablo, and I didn't read the last novel because it's just published. So it's just it came out.
No, it's not even published.
It's not even published. So maybe I can come and steal a bit a PDF from your email. But anyway, I've read interviews now about the story, and it's a novel that seems to me about literature, about the value of literature in a friendship. I make like a sort of plot synopsis, but is because I don't read the book, I read the book cover maybe, is about two friends. One friend dies and the other discover a manuscript of a novel, and the novel is about a certain period of the Argentinian nation, and discovering this manuscript and working on this manuscript. The main character that is named Pablo, so maybe same I also got out of fiction.
Nothing to do with
Bene. It's not my question like that, but it's retelling his story and at the same time the story of a nation. No, so and I've read one interview where you were speaking about like, come si dice motosega in English? So like chainsaw, like the chainsaw politics, no, in a sense. So I would like to ask you a very direct question. No, what is the because I when I think about Argentina, I think about the snow because I think about the Eternauta, no, and I think that this kind of different snow. But I think about books. I think about obviously the libraries. No, it's a very Argentinian topic. I'd like to ask you, what about Argentina today? What is the role and the value of books and libraries, if you want? Because I've heard of there's also lots of cuts, no, in terms of library. It turns a little bit more politics, I know, but it's not only about. No, what do you think? What is the possible reflection that you can do about that?
Well, Argentina, or at least in Buenos Aires, I'm going to talk about because I know it better, and I haven't lived there in 21 years. But I'd still go back. It's a city with many bookstores. There are bookstores everywhere and many libraries. And even though there have been budget cuts all around in culture, I think that the publishing scene is still very vibrant. There are many independent publishers. They struggle, but they somehow keep going. There are book fairs and they're always packed with people and people are buying books. So my diagnosis, again, from somebody who goes maybe once a year and hasn't lived there in a long time, and I honestly don't really follow Argentine politics almost at all because it's just too.
It's too difficult to.
It's Dantesque in a bad way, in a bad sense.
You can read books better.
Right, but my diagnosis is that is still incredibly vibrant and incredibly.
So it's a nation of bibliophiles.
Exciting. Yes, I think so. People love books.
Where does that come from, do you think? What's the origin of that interest?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know where it comes from. My grandmother had a big library and she wasn't somebody who had studied literature or she just loved to read, and my parents had a big library, and most of my friends already has a big libraries in their houses. I don't know where it comes from.
Because I did a little book tour in Italy just recently, and one of the things that came up was there's a sense that in Catholic countries, it's discussions around literature and books is a little different from Anglo-Saxon countries. And that there's some sort of residual respect for writers and writing and books in Catholic countries, which is not entirely evaporated in Anglo-Saxon countries, but it's different.
Yeah.
So I wondered if it was some kind of sort of clericism thing or whether it was in any way connected to that, but it feels different.
I don't know. I mean, of course, in Italy too, I mean, and in many European countries also, books are revered, and even people who are apocalyptic about books and people say that nobody reads anymore and books will disappear. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think the book is perhaps, along with the wheel and the razor blade, the three most enduring, incredible technologies ever developed by human beings. Yeah, the bicycle is great, but it's a lot more recent, right? But they haven't changed in thousands of years, these technologies, the folio. So I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Andrew was saying, and I was thinking about an interview that I read with you. No, so although maybe it's better to read pages, novels than interviews sometimes, no, because you never know if the journalist has cut some words, no.
Yes.
But I was interested to ask you, and also it's a question for what do you think about the very profession of being an author today in a time where. We discussed that in my class in literature, that the very sense of authorship has been discussed a lot and has been, we are facing some times where the very idea of authorship is evaporating. I don't know. What do you think? What your and if you can relate to your routines as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are days when I feel I'm evaporating.
Me too. So we are the same boat.
Nights. But it's, yeah, I mean, are you thinking of the death of the author in a kind of, we're in Roland Barthes territory here? Are we sort of,
Well, more about the fact that I'm sure that the role of the authors is changing and is being reconfigured.
well, I think certainly, I mean, I just judged one of the judges on the Sunday Times Young Writers Prize. So they were all under 35.
Yeah.
And writing books was clearly just part of what they did. They also had these huge social media presences. They made a lot of YouTube stuff. They made a lot of stuff online. And so they were, the book was one of the sort of things that they made, but they made other things. For me, that wasn't the case. So I think it is changing. I mean, publishing is a fairly gloomy industry. They always think they're right at the edge of some kind of, disappearing completely. I remember when Amazon showed up and when ebooks showed up and everyone was just going to write everything online, publish online, it'd be read online, bookshops disappear, everything disappears, and of course
it's a way to survive.
Yeah, it hasn't happened, and I think we're very bad at guessing the future. Actually, one of the wonderful things about the library in the woods is it's this kind of sort of, it seems to go against the current, against the flow. It says like, hey, we're doing books here. So it's during COVID, I remember just in my hometown of Bath, a genius bookseller opened an enormous, beautiful bookshop in the middle of town, in a time that seemed, I don't know, somehow very unpromising. So there are all these, counter currents that are actually very strong, and which, sometimes when I go to festivals and I think everybody's, of a certain age, and we need young people, but actually, I know my daughter, who's 21. She'll outbrowse me in a library. She's just gone to a university city, just gone to Oxford, which is, of course, a place of, among other things, of libraries, of extraordinary libraries. So she sends me pictures of herself at 3 a.m. in her college library, where she's doing something she should have done 2 days earlier. But it stays open all night, so you can just keep going. So yeah, it isn't over yet, put it that way.
And it's good, because otherwise we can do this series. And Pablo, would you want to have a comment on that? Because I also appreciate the fact that you, as a scholar, as a writer, you have multiple levels of writing in a world that has maybe computers to do the stuff, we are facing the era of the artificial intelligence. I don't want to use some very vague words, but what do you think? What do you think from your perspective as a curator of a library as well? So you're a new step into your definition, in a sense, no?
Yes, I think libraries will survive. It will last for a long, long time. Partly because they are made of books, and books are extremely resilient. The only thing that truly destroys a book is fire. Yeah, let's not get into that. And Clo.
Yeah, we got a dog at Santa Maddalena that likes
Clo, yeah, she destroys books. Yes, but on the other hand, it's true that that we might be living through a change of paradigm in terms of knowledge and the acquisition of knowledge and the diffusion of knowledge and teaching. I am a teacher as well, and the artificial intelligence is going to change things radically. I don't want to say that it's good or bad. I don't think nobody has any tools to make a proper diagnosis about it yet. It will take probably 100 years.
Yeah.
But it will be different. It will be different. And libraries like our library will be there as sort of, in a way, sanctuaries. Sanctuaries, something that existed at one point. Yeah, but I think they will last for a long, long time. Yes.
One game. It's just one game for you. It's just one question more, and then if you want to have some question from the audience,
Please.
is important. One of the reasons of this encounter is also that I found in the Gonzaga Library at Spokane, Washington D.C., Washington State, that they organized with the American Library Association a week for promoting the banned books of America, and the topic of censorship is a huge topic in the US. So I would love to reverse this problem, ask our guest, not a provocative question, but if you have to imagine a time where all the books are banned, which book you will save as a leader of a movement? Which book you will save from these apocalypses?
Well, first thing to say,
only one book.
but the first thing to say is that a library is in itself an act of censorship. So as a curator of a library, I am a censor. I will always exclude more books than I include. So I am constantly, every day, I'm censoring and banning books from my library. If I had to save one book only, I would probably save a book of algebra.
Okay.
Because that would keep me busy for the rest of my life. I would never save a book that I love because it would bring me memories from books and it will hurt. I would say just save
Algebra.
Yeah.
And Andrew?
Yeah,
I know it's a
it's a very mean question, and because by choosing one, I exclude all other books ever written, which talk about acts of censorship. That's about the ultimate one, isn't it? I don't know. I'd probably some sort of children's book, perhaps, because maybe maybe we'd have to keep childhood alive and through a little piece of literature. So, and then I think of the books I used to read to my daughter when she was growing up. And one book that I think I enjoyed far more than it's going to sound completely. I'm going to save Midwinter Moomin. This is the one book that'll survive the apocalypse. Is about little creatures that scuttle around, but it's somehow I think everything's in there. Dr. Zeus, possibly, the places you'll go, would be another one, but it seems to embrace everything that I've ever learned about life in one very slim volume. So, but yeah, you're asking us basically to erase the entire in order to have one. Yeah. But maybe, I think a childhood book would be what I'd say, maybe. And we'll start from there. We'll grow it from there. Start over. Yeah.
Interesting answer because it's on one side algebra, on the other side children's book. It seems like very interesting how they censor and that they select. So talk about selection. It's not my time anymore for a while. Maybe we're going to moderate also if you have some questions to the authors. I have more questions, but I will keep at the end if you want before the refreshments. You're invited to the refreshments. Which is very important.
One of my favorite words.
One of my favorite words that you will save from Apocalypse. If you have some question to the guests, one I can.
Jamie.
I was thinking, talking about woods, natural stuff. It's nice to kind of immerse yourself in maybe a nostalgic idea of seasons that are passing, nature that all works. But of course, we're sitting here at a time of climate change, ecological devastation, biodiversity loss. So it's not so much a question, but it is a question. I guess it's both to Pablo and to you, Andrew. To what extent are you thinking about that professionally as writers? Is it something that's impacted on your writing process in works that you're currently exploring? Or if not, then how is it changing the way you're thinking about books and the prospects for contemporary fiction going forward? I mean, particularly to Andrew, I guess you chose to write this a historical fiction in 1962. Was that something that you were drawing parallels with in the?
Yeah, when I set book, a book set in 1962, or I've written books set in sort of 1760 or whatever, I'm never wanting to impose some kind of parallel, like this is a bit like now. But it's, I think in terms of your question, and you're mentioning climate change, et cetera, I think what is introduced, not just into writers, but into everybody, is a slight, just a sense of uncertainty, of things, of instability, and I think that seeps in, as it does into our dreams, it seeps into our writing. And so even if I don't, sit down to write. I mean, actually, I just did some stories. I just did some stories about freakishly warm because last November in Britain, when it should have been cold, it wasn't cold. Flowers that should have been put away for the year suddenly coming out again. And I've that's a much more direct kind of thing. But I think just more generally, just feelings of a sort of, a slight sort of unease of old certainties, seasonal, this, how people talk about seasons and how how nostalgic quickly they become, older people particularly, it used to be like this. And now, those certainties as they begin to fade are replaced by what? By a sense of, I don't know, a slight anxiety. And so I think that's probably creeping in, but not necessarily in a direct way. What do you reckon?
No, I think that we are in the business of books and the business of libraries, of analogic books, not ebooks. So it's complicated to think of climate change because one of the biggest factors in climate change is deforestation. Books are made of paper, and paper comes from trees. Which makes me think that whatever we do, we are a big part of that problem. And I am normally skeptical of this notion that it's in us to solve the issue of climate change, that it's an individual problem that we can solve by doing our little bit of a little share of this. I think it will either be solved technologically at a massive scale at some point, and I hope that happens, or it won't, and it will be the end of the world. But until that happens, I don't see myself not being a part of this problem as long as I live, because I continue to purchase books and produce books and write books and collect books and accumulate them, and that is a big part of the problem.
Yeah, I mean, publishers have obviously for some time now been quite sensitive to this and try to have this and to have use wood from sustainable sources. I was trying to just remember because actually Italy was one of the very earliest paper makers in this part of the world. Anyway, if we discount the Far East for the moment, used to because they make it out of rags, weren't they? They were making they down in. Marche, was it that they would sort of, making these pressing rags to make paper? You can still sort of see the weave, I think, in some of these old manuscripts, which is and the very early watermarks. Something very beautiful about these early watermarks. These because going back to the 15th century, maybe even earlier, the first paper being watermarked in that way. But it's I don't know. I don't have a solution to. I mean, you have a thought on that? You have a thought on?
We only have one.
Well, you
1 hour
raised the
more.
question, which is half. Solution.
Thank you for the question
Thank
because
you.
it was one of the 6-7 questions that I had about this tuning a little bit more on that, but it's okay. So you have some question to the authors. If you are Andrew or Pablo's previous reader, if you have some question even on their other books, because I decided to stay on a very vague level maybe, but I mean it's because I love to hear the authors when in there. Thank you for saying that.
Coming into my mind, talking about books, obviously not all books are literature. Actually, really not. And I was wondering whether, obviously reading and writing, reading nonfiction, reading for information, reading for, philosophy, history, whatever, is very different, perhaps, right, from reading fiction, and the same thing, I think, writing. I was wondering whether you'd want to pinpoint the nature of that difference. What is the mind at work in reading a book that is history, whatever, or even political science, whatever it is, or math. And what is happening when we're reading a novel? I mean, the two things are very different. Are they complementary? Are they on the same path?
Great question. Yeah, great.
What happens if you don't read
Now,
novels?
some people will say, I don't,
What happens to your mind?
others will say, I don't read nonfiction. I read everything. That's a different story. What do you think? How does it work? Intellectually, spiritually, culturally?
Okay, I mean, I think it's what happens when we read anything complex has never been, to my satisfaction, kind of fully, in a sort of phenomenological way described. Because I think so many things go on. We're all so used to this thing of picking up a book and going through it, and really we should fall over with astonishment that this happens at all. That this is and I mean, now of course I'm sure that someone's been doing brain scans of people reading, and I imagine that when you are reading poetry and when you are reading a history of Italy, slightly different bits of the brain are being, although I don't think the history of Italy is a kind of poetry, perhaps. So maybe that's
Or tragedy.
Yeah.
Or point of view.
So I think it is the particular pleasures of reading fiction, which and what it touches, what it sort of. I mean, clearly a book is inert, it just sits quietly, doesn't it? And then, of course, the reader picks it up and she brings her whole life to it. So there's a sense of improvisation almost, and of like a musician with a sort of improvising musician with a score, and in the way that you respond to the winter in this book will be the winters of your life, and that's one of the fact that the experience is so sort of Janus-like, so we're always looking into the book, but we're always looking back into our own lives. So you're reading about these people, but it's always somehow part of you, and the complexity of that is astonishing. It's reflecting on the possibilities of your own life, and both of your past and all the memories that get sort of ding 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 touched on and sort of fire like neurons, perhaps literally so, and at the same time you're looking you're following the story of these people. So I always think that actually what goes on in reading complex fiction, fiction that challenges us a little bit, doesn't have to challenge us massively, but is it's such a rich experience, and because of that, we should all do it. Yeah, but I mean, reading a great history or a great biography or a great, obviously very satisfying, can be very exciting. There's obviously crossover. We're using language, we're imbibing language in that way, but it's clearly it's not quite the same experience. I always think it's interesting that it's men who say, I don't read fiction. No, I don't read, and who kind of want knowledge. They want to store up knowledge so they can say something clever at a dinner or something. And it's what do you think? Tell me something. Yeah.
Well, I would make a distinction between narrative and non-narrative, maybe, because history can be narrative, and something that happens sometimes, if you're lucky, when you're reading narrative, and it's happened to all of you at some point. Maybe it happens often to you if you're lucky enough. You start reading a book, and maybe it happens right away. Maybe it happens page 2, page 3, page 10. But at one point, and I believe it's one instant, you're absorbed. You're in this world. It doesn't mean that you think this world is real, like this is real. That's Don Quixote, and that's why that's such a genius novel, because he really truly can distinguish. But you do accept that this is real. It's real in a different way. And it's real in part because of what Andrew was saying, because it's speaking to you directly inside, and all of your experiences and all of your memories are coming into play. But it's real because it exists in and of itself. That's why I'm always sort of bored and kind of annoyed sometimes at readings that try to push context onto the text, and political readings or ethical readings. A good work of literature stands on its own. It's its own world with its own rules. And if it manages to absorb you, then you're in and you accept it. And it's a miracle. I mean, maybe a miracle is too. I mean, we are at a Jesuit school. Although I don't know how Jesuits feel about miracles.
How Jesuits treat miracles.
Is it okay or
It's a
not?
good topic. It's a good topic
That's
to
a
end.
different seminar, I think, different seminar.
No, but
Different chapter.
what I think it can become compared to more better than miracle is when you were a child and you played. Because when you were a child playing, you take your game very, very seriously, and you know it's a game. Children are not stupid; they know they're playing. When you're reading, you know this is a book, and yet you take it very, very seriously, and it can do very powerful things to you. And I don't think this happens with good books or bad books. It can happen with a book that many people think it's really bad. It happens for mysterious reasons, but when it happens, it's the most wonderful thing in the world, right?
Yeah. Please.
I was
Yeah.
thinking, no, one thing you were saying, because Umberto Eco said that when you read a fiction, read a book, you are living many lives. A reader lives a lot of lives because you are always, you go into the book, as you say, into the story. And then when you are into this story, you are a part of it. And you take from the story what is, because story is different for every reader. So everything that you are living there becomes part of your life. It's not the same in movies, for instance. I think that it's more reading books for literature, for fiction, than a movie. Cinema is not the same. It can lead you things, feelings, but it's not the same as reading things. I think that story is very much, you can really live it. And I think that this is the important thing of reading.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and I think when you're in a book that you love, when you're in a book that's holding you, you live a little differently for 2 weeks or whatever it is, how long it takes you. I think Philip Roth said, if you haven't read a book in 2 weeks, you haven't read it. But sometimes it does take longer, depending on the book. There's some big ones out there. But I can particularly, anyone who remembers your sort of, the reading you do when you, as a teenager and as a very young adult, there's the intensity of that. And it's very hard to separate that from just the intensity of living, generally, from the intensity of your reading.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Thank you, Pablo.
I'm looking for a moment here.
Just reading. Yeah.
I thought I would remember the exact page number where that happens, but.
The good thing that you can do with books is reread books as well.
Reread
And pick them from the shelves. And,
that's
open some pages after.
Yeah, I love doing that. Just dropping into a book, and some books you get to know incredibly well. They become like rooms that you can go into, and you could walk across in the dark. You know every part of this, and it's a very different experience from opening a book for the first time and following a story. You know the story, so you just can move around in the book in a different way.
I found it.
Oh, go.
I would like to read just a very small passage from Andrew's book that I think sheds light on some of these ideas. This is a man who's been having an affair, cheating on his wife, and she finds a letter in his pocket, and she leaves him, and she leaves the letter on the kitchen table, so that when he comes back home, he understands. So he sees the letter immediately, knows what happened. She's left. So it says, he went to the kitchen and turned on the lights. That first instant when you see but don't comprehend. The instant that follows when you understand everything with an exactness you will never be able to repeat because you will never quite have the courage or the honesty. So this is all to say, okay, first of all, it's a wonderful way to put that into words. That it's exactly like that as he's describing it. But that instant when you sort of understand everything with that exactness, that is the moment when you are in the book.
Yeah.
And it can happen because of a word, an image, or a turn of phrase, but it's an instant and suddenly you are completely engrossed.
And then it becomes your book. Yeah,
Then it
in a
becomes your
special way. Then it's yours. It can be in your library. It becomes part of whether you have it at home, stuck on a shelf, or just whatever it is. But then it's yours then. Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question. Otherwise, I will make some, say, like the ending lines of a movie, like some. No question.
Make a question
Sí.
about censorship, okay?
Okay. And just to end with the
Yes, with just,
positive.
because no, because I am, again, with, it's a different opinion.
This is
I grew up in Argentina during the dictatorship. Okay, so I know a bit about censorship. I was thinking, I read that recently in the States, Garcia Marquez was censored 2 books.
Okay.
Yes, it was 100 Years of Solitude, and then also
2 books, yeah.
Amor y los tiempos de cólera.
Yeah.
They turn into 50 years of solitude.
50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
It was too brutal.
Shades of solitude.
50 Shades of Solitude.
Yes.
100 is too much.
Yeah.
And, okay, well, when I lived a period of censorship, anyway, I write to your hands. Okay, you can manage to read this book. Do you think that, how silly is to censor books? I think that, are politicians maybe afraid of books? Are these people that are banning books afraid of them, of the content, because they're saying that, oh, it's not good for kids, it's not good for young people? I read 100 Years of Solitude when I was 15, I believe. Okay, it was not, no damage. So I want to know your opinion about this today, in this time, the 21st century, banning books in a country like USA.
Yeah. It's just because we haven't started doing it much in Britain yet, but I think you know the States better. So the situation there, what's the?
Well, I mean, it's hard. It's difficult to say in the U.S. 100 Years of Solitude was banned. I mean, it was probably, it might have been banned at a school in Alabama. I don't know. I mean, they can guarantee that if you're in the U.S. and you want to read Garcia Marquez,
sign that they read that.
Banning books, it's great for books. I wish somebody banned my book.
Promotional.
Best thing that can happen to a book.
Book merchandising.
Yeah. So yes, it's pointless. It's pointless, and it's great for authors to be banned. At times when censorship is really, really serious, is one thing. But now these attempts are just pathetic, and they actually help the book and they help the author, at least in the West, right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember actually what you said. I remember I was published in Latvia in a little company called Rosas just after the fall of the whole sort of Soviet Empire and so on, and they were already quite nostalgic for a time of censorship and control because the appetite for books was so powerful, because this was little glimpses of something very important. So they were already, even just the sort of 6 months afterwards, a little nostalgic for something that had been.
But this is what,
even though they were also delighted.
This is what Luis Buñuel says about eroticism. He says nobody did more for eroticism than Christianity.
Yes.
Yes, and when there is no censorship at all, then you're in the world of pornography, which is the opposite of eroticism. It's just
Yeah.
So yeah, a certain level of restriction is good for for creativity, I think, yeah.
I was in conversation one time in Beijing with a Chinese writer called Yan Liang. who-
Super good.
Yeah, okay, there we are. So he was there and it was like a trade negotiation because we were there with the British Council and so on. He was on his side with various people who may be of his choice or not. And I was having a conversation with him and one of the things he said was the next book he was going to do, he would write it so that he knew they would ban it because some of them they let through and some of them they didn't, and he was tired of the uncertainty. So he's going to do one that he knew they couldn't accept. Yeah. So bless him. Yeah. Thanks for your
Nobody read it here in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's translated into
It's
Italian.
translated.
In Audi.
We have four books.
In Audi, right?
No, not
No?
in Tempo. See, and the publisher is so sad because he's a great author, but nobody read it.
Okay, we need to get him over. I don't know. Yeah.
We need to get him banned.
Right. Yes.
Meloni needs to ban him.
Yeah.
Solution
Yeah.
for it.
Okay, so I think we need to
Wrap up.
wrap up a little
Yeah.
bit because it's time for refreshments, not for.
Oh.
No, I will love.
Yes, thank
No,
you.
wait. I would love to thank Jason Houston and Gonzaga University for this series, Santa Maddalena Foundation and Beatrice for having such wonderful authors. Keeping him in Florence is good as well, and he will come soon. You will come soon. And I would love to thank you and refreshments and also some books if someone wants to buy or just see the books. Thank you so much. And I'll bring you for a second.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for that. No, you did great.
It was very broad.
No, it was
Okay,
great. It was
yeah.
okay. Yeah,
We did all right. We had some nice questions and I think it's okay. We're done all right, isn't it? Yeah. Nice group. You just kind of basically on our side. Friendly. So, yeah. Hello. Hello. Yes. Nice to see you again.